whole meeting of the Vesuvius Town Council, Monday, March the 18th, 2019 at 9 a.m. in Council Chambers. So is there any introduction of late items? No, nothing? Okay. Could we have a motion, please, for the Committee of the Whole agenda to be adopted? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Bennett, all in favour. Thank you. No delegations this morning. So we have some business items to deal with. And the first one is the park naming policy. And that would be the
program supervisor.
The acting. Is it Mr. Davis, are you doing it? Oh, Mrs. Dynison, please go ahead.
But
thank you.
I'm no longer acting. I'm just back to my regular role.
It says right here acting, and that's why I went through it. Okay,
it's all good.
Thank you very much.
So at the March 4th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting, staff brought forward a proposed park naming policy. After reviewing the draft policy, Council directed staff to make changes to the proposed park naming policy and present the changes at the following Committee of the Whole meeting. The proposed park naming policy has been revised to include an application form. The revised draft policy with the proposed application form is attached to this report. The options: number 1, that the attached policy be referred to the next regular open meeting of Town Council on April 1st, 2019 for approval. Or 2, that staff make additional changes to the policy and forward it to the next Committee of the Whole meeting for review. And staff recommends option 1, that the attached policy be forwarded to the next regular open meeting of Town Council on April 1st for approval.
Thank you very much. Council, go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Carl. So you're looking for a resolution in this meeting? Okay, I'll make that based on the wording in option 1.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions about this? Thank you for making the changes that we had requested the last time. And when I looked at the naming request form, it seemed to be quite thorough. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So all in favor of the motion? Thank you very much. That's passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is the West Bench Dog Park update. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff received correspondence in relation to the temporary dog park and wanted to provide an update on the overall design for the West Bench area. The correspondence was in relation to the concern about the grade of the new dog park. The committee was concerned about this issue at the implementation of the new dog park, but once it was fenced and the committee met on site, there wasn't a concern. In the last few years, there has been an increase of activity in this area, and one of the items that were identified was a new washroom. With tennis, pickleball, baseball, slow pitch, and the dog park, this area warranted a permanent washroom. Staff included a washroom in this year's budget, and council provided pre-budget approval to move forward. Staff has identified the washroom to be situated in the area where the temporary dog park is now located. The diagram below shows the washroom on the outside of the tennis court. This location was chosen so it can accommodate all the users in the West Bench area. To address concerns regarding the grade, the committee designed the park to make it more accessible by placing another entrance on the north side. The main entrance that is adjacent to the pickleball courts are similar to the grade of the old dog park of the old baseball diamond, and the north side provides a flatter area that will be more easily accessed. Currently, there is a barrier preventing access on the road. This can be moved up closer to the north entrance so people needing easier access will not have an issue. The committee is working on a signage plan which will include directional signage leading into the park. The north side entrance can also be identified with signage to inform users who have mobility issues. Signage is paramount as we have users still using the old dog park. To help alleviate some issues, staff moved the directional signage and locked the ball diamond. The ball diamond is scheduled to be completed mid-April, but will depend on the weather. Staff has also identified trees, a gazebo, picnic tables, storage, and benches. This area will provide a central space for all users. Keeping this temporary dog park area would make it difficult for other users to access the washroom and other amenities, especially if they're not comfortable around dogs. The main purpose of the temporary dog park was to make sure we had an area for people to bring their dogs while the new park was being built. It was never meant to be a permanent off-leash area. The temporary fencing will be removed when the park opens. This area will be available to all users, but dogs will have to be on a leash until they enter the off-leash dog park. The goal of the committee is to have the park ready to open as soon as possible. Once the signage is installed, we will plan a grand opening celebration. And staff is bringing this forward just for information and an update.
Thank you very much. Is there, Councillor Rhodes, did you have anything to add to this? You were on the committee. I'm just, seems that...
Well, the committee hasn't met for some time, and I'm sure we're going to be getting active fairly soon. Gerald covered it very well, and I think that's the way we're going to progress with it.
Good.
You know that there was a little bump up in our budget, so we'll be able to move forward to some of these projects that we have on the list.
Good. Thank you. So this was just an update, so thank you very much. Mr. Davis, nobody has any questions? Okay. Mrs. Hilson, we don't have to do anything more than just accept it as an update. Thank you. And next we have I'm not sure who's doing this one. This would be a revised sidewalk use policy. Would that be Mr. MacArthur? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So the town has received inquiries from downtown restaurant operators in regards to establishing a patio in front of their businesses. Currently, only 4 small tables are permitted by the sidewalk use policy. A review of the current policy has identified that it would benefit from a refresh. So staff proposed to revise the current policy and amend the associated traffic bylaw to enable the establishment of a limited number of patios in the town center. Updates to the policy and corresponding bylaw are required to reflect the recommendations of the Town Center Renewal Plan, which specifically identifies sidewalk patios as a strategy to increase vibrancy in the community. Updates to the policy and bylaw would enable restaurateurs to apply for to construct a patio in front of their business. Importantly, a 1.5 meter pedestrian walk zone, a treadway, would be maintained by any businesses that construct a sidewalk patio. Parking. In cases where the sidewalk fronting a business is not sufficiently wide enough to accommodate both a sidewalk patio and a 1.5 meter pedestrian walk zone, a 1.5 meter wide treadway would be constructed by the applicant on 2 or 3 parking spaces in front of the business. Those parking spaces could then be utilized by small cars, bicycles, or motorcycles. A fee for use of the adjacent parking spaces by the business owner could be implemented. In order to maintain sufficient parking, the number of patios that require the use of parking stalls would be limited by the revised policy. Additionally, there is a plan to install wayfinding to direct visitors to existing parking lots on 74th and 78th Avenues, which are currently not used to their capacity. Furthermore, parking stall funds collected from applicants could be allocated for construction of additional parking in future. In terms of policy context, the official community plan emphasizes the importance of creating a diverse and vibrant downtown. One way to achieve vibrancy is to enable sidewalk patios which would encourage people to stay and enjoy the ambiance of Main Street. The traffic bylaw sets out requirements for placement of chattels on sidewalks, which includes the requirement of submitting a sidewalk use permit application. The zoning bylaw, the proposed zone for sidewalk patios is the C1 downtown zone. And the Town Center Renewal Plan emphasizes the importance of creating vibrancy in the community's downtown. One of the strategies recommended by the TCRP is to implement sidewalk patios as a means of increasing vibrancy in the area. Community feedback during the Town Center Renewal Plan process supported this recommendation. By adding sidewalk patios to the policy and bylaw, staff expect cafes and restaurants will propose to construct patios which will increase community vibrancy. The Town Center Renewal Plan encourages sidewalk patios in the downtown, which was supported by community feedback, and importantly, pedestrian walk zones will be maintained. So implications of this, for the community, the addition of sidewalk patios should increase vibrancy in the community. Organizationally, staff will be required to review the applications. There are no costs associated with this report. Significant dates, staff would prepare a report for an updated policy and associated bylaw amendment for council consideration at a later date. And a vibrant community will aid in the town's economic sustainability. So for options, One, that council directs staff to prepare an updated policy and bylaw amendment for council's consideration at a later date. Two, that staff provide additional information to council prior to proceeding. And three, that no further action be taken, and staff recommend option 1.
Thank you very much. Does anyone? Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah,
King.
I'll recommend option 1. Council directs staff to prepare updated policy and bylaw amendments for council consideration at a later date. And I do have a question.
Absolutely. Is you seconding that? Thank you. Go ahead.
It might be too early to answer it, but you mentioned about establishing a limited number of patios. Is there kind of a ratio in other towns that say you can have 2 per block or 10 per block?
Thank you, Councillor King. That's something that we're analyzing right now, so it's a bit too early to say what we would do.
Yeah.
But we're looking at some sort of limitation so that we don't disrupt too much of the
10
parking.
in one block. Okay,
Right.
I appreciate that.
So
Thank
first
you.
come, first served? Is that the idea, if that's the case? Yeah, that's
Well, you'd have to own a restaurant to start with.
Yeah. Did anyone else have? Okay, I had a question. I'm wondering if this proposal has gone to the Accessibility Committee, and I'm wondering if they would feel comfortable with what has been suggested.
I haven't taken it to the committee, but we can do that in the process. If you would like us to talk to them, we certainly can do that.
I think it's not a bad idea because it may be that they would require a certain
Width.
not only the width, but the type of material that's put down. I don't know. And I'm just thinking we have that committee in town. It might be a good idea to ask them if are they, Ms. McKay?
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. We can certainly take it to them. Just to confirm with council, though, that we do have a requirement that right now that 1.5 meters of the sidewalk be kept clear, and obviously it would be, the treadway would be of level, a level surface and hard packed surface, whether that's concrete, which would mean a permanent structure, or if it's constructed of wood or some other material, it would obviously be suitable for wheelchair access. But we can certainly run it by them if that's the direction council wants to
So my
go.
concern is if it's up to the restaurant there to put in that structure, then they need to be sure that, or am I wrong on that?
So, thank you, Mayor McCorduff. So we would require that they submit plans for approval to the building inspector.
Good.
And then it also have to be approved by operational services. And they would also have to have a permit to work within the road right away. So there's quite a process that would have to take place in order for them to construct something. And so we would make sure it was
No
suitable.
problem. That was my question. Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member McCorduff. The participants in the Town Center Renewal Plan were very, very enthusiastic about this project. I'm also very, very pleased with it as well. This is something that goes back to 2009 and 10 when we first started to move forward with this. So I'm glad we're here. I am curious about next steps and timeframes.
So we will be putting together a strategy for the policy and bylaw update. The intention is to come forward at a future council meeting. We depending on how much input we have from the Accessibility Committee and their timing with their meetings, etc., that would impact whether we would bring that at the next meeting or a future meeting. So, but it will be most likely. The intention is certainly for this spring to bring this forward.
Yeah, and just the reason why I ask is it would be nice if we could see some movement forward with this to allow for the tourist season this year.
I agree. Can I just ask Councillor King and then Ms. McKay?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I sit on the committee, but I don't think it's technically necessary. When you talk 1.5 meters, I mean, that's about 48 inches, which is 4 feet. And Ms. McKay mentioned about it being level and flat, so I don't really see a problem because they do have to go through a process. So I would not necessarily support that idea, but
I somehow think that because we have this committee, that we should just make sure that they're comfortable with it, or at least say this is what we're planning to do. But however, I think you've answered a lot of my questions, that it is going through a procedure. But I'd hate to have somebody come back after and
Yeah.
say,
No.
gee, you didn't ask us for any input, that's all.
So thank you, Mayor McCarthy. What I would suggest then, it's just an idea, that you let us proceed with bringing this forward at the April 1st agenda because we feel that we can, and that in the meantime, we would certainly look for the input. We could ask for their input because it would be, there is bylaw and policy that needs to be updated. I would think, though, maybe the time would be when someone actually makes an application to move forward for installation, and that proposal could then be reviewed by the committee, because right now it would be very generic, and depending on where the patio was located, whether it was on a slight grade or whatnot, the construction of the patio would differ from place to place. So I think it would be more appropriate that we bring it forward for their review on a case-by-case basis.
That's a good idea.
Councillor Rhodes, are you okay? Yeah, did you want to ask?
Thank you. Yeah, that would work pretty good. My concern is until the bylaw is actually changed, there's no media coverage, there's no exposure to the public and that kind of thing. So we would need some way of triggering, that enthusiasm with the restaurant owners, so to speak. And
Go ahead.
yeah, I'd also like to speak about the parking situation that probably at the end of the day will be the most controversial issue that we have to deal with. Most of the ones that I've viewed, and there's a few of them in Penticton, and I know you have a photograph there, do remove a little bit of parking away from it. However, your proposal about making it useful for small cars and bicycles is enough for me to not support a charge for whatever area that they're lessening there. I think that would work against the whole process of moving forward with these sidewalk patios and that kind of thing, because technically we're not taking away parking stalls, we're just kind of changing the configuration of them. And what a great opportunity to provide bicycle parking as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
Bicycle and motorcycle
Motorcycle,
parking,
yeah.
because sometimes a motorcycle will come in and take up a whole parking spot, and if that could be used out there, that might solve that problem. Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that we go with option number 1. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. And next is Mr. MacArthur again, and this would be the Resort Municipality Initiative. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor McCarthy. I think, we'll just take a moment to set up the PowerPoint here.
Oh, sure.
Oh, you have it all? Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. So I'm going to give some details and background on the Resort Municipality Initiative. So the program itself is an initiative administered by the province through the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and is meant to assist resort municipalities with improving amenities and programming which will benefit visitors and residents. There are 14 designated resort municipalities in BC, including Osoyoos. In order to qualify for providing that provincial funding, the town must prepare a resort development strategy, and an important aspect in preparing that strategy is to engage with the community. So on the engagement side of things, we conducted an online survey in late January and early February, and also hosted a workshop for community representatives and council on February 12th. The online survey asked tourism-related questions, including about specific resort municipality initiative projects that have been undertaken in the community over the past few years. 345 people responded to the survey, which is a significant response. So thank you to everyone who took part. And we also collected over 500 written comments, which aided in the creation of the resort development strategy. So the following slides illustrate responses from survey participants. The first question asked was, how do you generally feel about tourism development in Osoyoos? To which there was an overwhelmingly positive response. 82% of respondents want to continue growing tourism in Osoyoos, while an additional 15% want to at least maintain the current levels. The next question asks, what are the outcomes you'd like to see as a result of increased tourism? Almost half of respondents suggested infrastructure and programs are the desired outcome, which of course is the objective of the Resort Municipality Initiative. Then we asked, if you don't support tourism, why is that? The main response was affordable housing. While the Resort Municipality Initiative is not designed to address this issue, the town intends to continue working on solutions to address this issue through other avenues. Then we asked, what assets and features do you think help best support a successful tourism industry and visitor experience in the community? The number one response was a dynamic downtown, followed by clean beaches with amenities. And both of these areas are addressed with our project categories in the strategy itself. So then participants were asked what things might hinder a successful tourism and visitor experience, to which just over half responded service industry housing was something that needed to be addressed. Interestingly, limited off-season events received the least amount of votes, but we did receive a number of written comments emphasizing the importance of events outside of summer. And next, we asked respondents specifically about some projects that have been undertaken in the community and whether funding should be increased, maintained, or decreased for each project. Waterfront enhancement and downtown revitalization were both identified as priorities, followed by trail development and visitor activity enhancement, which is actual hosting of events. The projects of beach cleaning, waterfront safety improvements, and wayfinding were all ranked lower, but were all deemed valuable as well. And then finally, we asked survey participants if they had any other ideas of projects for Resort Municipality Initiative projects. We received over 500 comments, as I previously mentioned, so I'm going to highlight a few of the responses that were mentioned by multiple respondents. In regards to trail development, respondents suggested the idea of a cycling trail to Oliver and also pedestrian and cycling trail around the lake. Trail development in general was very important and mentioned many times. Gyro Park was also a popular topic, including the proposed pier project upgrades to the band shell and installing a floating water park down near Gyro Park. And respondents were also indicated the importance of clean beaches, the need for some community beautification projects, including a banner program and upgrades to Motel Row, and also downtown revitalization themed responses were made up a significant number of comments, including the need for sidewalk patios, more food trucks, improved seating, lighting, and landscaping on Main Street, and the creation of a downtown plaza. In terms of events, respondents suggested the town needs more off-season events, art walks and festivals in the downtown area, more food vendors, buskers, and even an outdoor theater in Gyro Park was mentioned by multiple people, something like Bard on the Beach in Vancouver. And importantly, many respondents suggested the need for family, youth, and child-friendly events. There were also comments suggesting boat safety upgrades and signage to educate people about protecting the lake, and multiple people asked for some sort of tourist information kiosks in the downtown core. There were also a number of other comments, which may or may not fit under a specific Resort Municipality Initiative project category, but are important that we keep track of them. Some of those suggestions included an indoor pool, shuttle to Penticton Airport, and also continuing to improve accessibility within the community. So following this survey, we hosted a workshop on February 12th, and where community champions and council were both invited to participate. The online survey results were also incorporated into the discussion at the workshop. During that workshop, past Resort Municipality goals and projects were reviewed. Trends and influences impacting tourism were discussed, and as mentioned, the survey results presented. We then reviewed the Resort Municipality Initiative projects that are in progress, such as the Main Street Bollard project, followed by setting new goals, selecting projects, and assigning funding amounts to each. So the participants in the workshop created or approved the following three goals for the Resort Municipality initiative going forward. One, to develop visitor amenities that promote world-class visitor experiences and complement and enrich residents' quality of life. Two, to create memorable visitor experiences through programs and services that promote community values, showcase unique environmental landscapes, and reflect the culture of the region. And three, to implement sustainability projects that minimize tourist impacts and increase awareness of sustainable practices. And I should mention that all three of these goals are reflective of the three provincial goals for the Resort Municipality Initiative. And following the goal development, the group also settled on 11 project categories, which are waterfront enhancement, trail development and connectivity, boat trailer parking, downtown revitalization, visitor activity enhancement, beach cleaning, waterfront safety improvements, wayfinding and informational signage, community beautification, public art and heritage display, and environmental sustainability. So the input received from both the online survey and the workshop was used to inform the creation of the resort development strategy. And with Council's approval, the next steps would be to forward that to the Ministry for comment, and once we receive those comments, to bring it back for Council consideration. And so now I have a report to Council for that very topic. So I'm not going to go through the entire report because I've just outlined detailed of the initiative. But I'll skip ahead to the rationale for recommendation. So by participating in the Resort Municipality Initiative, the town is able to receive provincial funds to develop and improve infrastructure and programs for residents and visitors. The implications are for the community: improved infrastructure and programs aid in the making of a wonderful community and place to live and visit. Organizationally, staff will be required to submit a resort development strategy to the province. There are no costs associated with this report. In terms of dates, upon receipt of the strategy comments from the province, a report will then be prepared for Council's consideration at a later date. And sustainability, a vibrant community will aid in the town's economic sustainability. So the options are that Council directs staff to forward the draft strategy to the Ministry for comment, and that's the option that we recommend.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes.
This is the easiest one I've ever done. I'll go with staff recommendation, option number one.
You're seconding that?
Second, yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Mr. Romanko.
Just as an update, I got a call from the RMI people last week, and they notified us that it appears that our base funding will be $420,000, which is about $20,000 more than we planned a strategy on. But at this point in time, it doesn't look like we'll be eligible for any performance bump because our MRDT actually dropped for this last year. So the program has got a baseline funding that's been identified over a 3-year average, and then if your MRDT funds increase, you then become eligible for a performance bump. So hopefully we'll have a good year this year, and more MRDT money will come in, and then we'll be eligible for more funding.
Good. Thank you. I asked Mr. MacArthur this morning briefly, he was busy and I was interrupting, that I think that the report that he's done, the strategy, is phenomenal, and I wondered if he had followed a template or if he made this up on his own. And he said there was somewhat of a template that he'd sort of based it on. I think it's very thorough. It's very easy, and quite frankly, the tourism minister is going to be blown away by this, I think. So, well done, Mr. MacArthur. I think you've got it all covered.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So, anybody else have anything to add to this? So we are going to vote on this, that we go with option 1. All in favor? Thank you very much. And next is our flag policy. That's Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Attached is the current PW4 flag lowering policy that guides lowering of the national, provincial, and town flags. This policy doesn't meet the standards provided by the federal and provincial governments. Situations arise in which members of the public express opinions that flags must be lowered to recognize a particular community event. The attached policy developed in 2006 provides insufficient direction to the administration to deal with these requests. Attached is policy CCL-004 that was developed based on researching the policies of other municipalities. Administration is of the opinion that this policy captures the needed occasions to lower the town's flags. The policy also enables mayor and council to make a decision on a community-generated request. This policy has been reviewed by the directors and the fire chief for input. Implementation of the policy will require an operating procedure to be developed to address scheduling issues to meet requirements of off-work hours. 3 options are presented to council. 1, council reviews the policy, CCL-004, and directs the administration to move it to council meeting for a full consideration of council. 2, council directs the administration to make noted changes by council and further directs the administration to move it to a council meeting for a full consideration of council. And 3, council directs the administration to continue to operate under the existing policy PW-004. Administration is seeking direction as identified in the above options. So if council has any input at this point in time, we can take it into consideration.
Okay. Anybody? Council? When I looked through it, I thought it was it looked good, and I know that you've based it on the what did you say it was, the flag lowering policy from the federal government, or the Heritage Canada, was it?
Yes, it incorporates the directions of Heritage Canada, but it also provides for additional lowerings based on what have been identified community events in other areas. For example, it identifies the lowering for people killed in workplace injuries and also in emergency service personnel.
Right.
I would move you go with option 1, direct the administration to move it to a council meeting for full consideration.
Thank you. Are you seconding that, Councillor Rhodes? Anybody else have any questions or? Okay, all in favor of option 1. Thank you very much, Mr. Amenko. And I believe that is the end of our committee of the whole meeting, so we need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll take 5 minutes before we go to our in-camera.